Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs. Breathe, release, and let go. Wearing the crimson and gold colors. As a former football fan, I'm no longer following the National Football League because it is now entertainment, not a sport. These are the colors of the San Francisco 49ers, formerly my favorite team. And I officially have denounced my following as a fan fanatic, and I have found other endeavors to devote my energy to. So welcome to everyone on Facebook Live, 2 for Tuesday. So this is one of those days that I'm in the zone, on fire, relentless, and going to deliver some exceptional content for you this afternoon. Kira, how are you this evening? Or this afternoon? I promise you today this content is gold. So that is a $20 Walking Liberty gold piece. That is an Augustus St. Gaudens art. That's the artwork for this specific gold, commissioned by, or the idea came from Theodore Roosevelt in the turn of the century. And so this content is gold. I will be covering this content right here. Principles for Prosperity. This is an old school CD set. So look at this, CDs. This was originally a cassette series back in the day when I was a younger man. I am 67 years young. I'm 67. I am 67 in 9 days from being 67. So when I was 42, I produced that on audio cassette, a 6 audio cassette series. And then I turned it into an 8 audio cassette series. And then eventually that was the first conversion of my audios that I converted to CD. And here it is right here. Principles for Prosperity. The money in the background was my money for a shoot that I had a photographer come in. And I laid out $10,000 on a table and then had multiple pictures taken had photographs taken and have used that background several hundred times in multiple marketing campaigns. So welcome here this afternoon. We have Kira Faircho, Aaron Asbaugh, Bob Campbell. I did a team call this morning for an Avini health group and it was on fire. So going to continue that energy today. The content today is called Prosperity Awareness. So this was the email that went out. That was the email on Monday. Bob says, greetings from Chicago. Bob is an attendee. Bob is my coaching client and an attendee of Millionaire Blueprint in July 2023. Bob, good to see you this afternoon, and would love to see you attend at a later day. So welcome, everyone. It is my privilege and pleasure to be here with you. Prosperity is a Latin term. It means bank. And so if you understand maritime law, and you understand the law of the land and then common law, these are some of the terms that reference money and prosperity. And if you understand the banking cabal, it begins with the Knights Templar in 1119. 9 celibate pagan knights who formed the Knights Templars, who wore a red cross on their tunic and a red cross on their shield, hence the term Rothschild in German, Bavarian order. And they later become a family called the Rothschilds, House of Red Shield Rothschild. And so if you want to trace the trail of money, where it all begins in the banking cabal, begins back in 1119 in that history. I've studied this history I've read countless books on the topics and have been down the rabbit hole of conspiracy and truth for going on 40 years. And prosperity is one term that is a reference. It is a reference to money, but is not specifically money, because prosperity is flow. And if you're in a business, it's important that you have a flow of leads, a flow of customers, a flow of creativity, a flow of inspiration. You're able to adapt and adjust. You're in the flow. But if you're not in the flow, then you're going to be in resistance. You're going to be in procrastination, in avoidance. You're going to be in anxiety, fear, and doubt. You're going to be overwhelmed, worried about the outcome that hasn't happened. So as you begin to understand the cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do, as you have a better understanding of the mechanism and the inner game of letting go, then you're no longer the mind, body, connection to the events that shape the feelings. On 3 different occasions this morning, that's the trifecta, while coaching, I assisted clients who said to me that these are the words that so many people say, this doesn't make sense. There are a few of you who have coached with me enough years that you understand what it means to understand the payoff. The payoff is the neurological emotional addiction to a set of feelings, to recreate a set of circumstances and situations to fulfill the feelings of being overwhelmed, being disappointed, being frustrated, not understanding it, and then saying, this doesn't make sense. Why would I do this? There's no payoff in it. Absolutely incorrect. An addict always wants a little more, and the payoff. See, when you're not in flow, you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. This will show up in your intimate relationships. This will show up in your money. It will show up in your debt. It will show up in your business ventures. It'll show up in your lead flow. But when you're in the flow, you're in that hands-free zone where customers come to you, clients come to you, parking spaces are available to you. You sit in the best booth in the restaurant. You have the outstanding service. Someone across the room picks up your check. It has happened to me a few times. I was in St. Louis in 2017, and I ate in a world-renowned restaurant in St. Louis called Tony's, Tony''s. Occasionally, Tony shows up in one of the top 10 restaurants in the United States. And I asked the maitre d' if he would be open to making a dessert for me called Zabayones, and I wanted to film it if he didn't mind. And I dropped the name Michael Garozzo, and I had forgotten, or I knew that his brother worked in that restaurant about 40 years ago, but he knew Michael Garozzo, and that maitre d' was actually the owner of the restaurant. His name was Jim Bomarito. He picked up the check, and that does happen to me occasionally. Someone picks up the check. It means that someone buys your dinner for you, and you're not expecting it. That is the universe rewarding you for your good deeds, for your random acts of kindness, for the life that you are living, for being prosperous. And I'm an exceptional tipper to ensure promptness. I grew up in the restaurant industry, and I like to tip like this. My tips are gold, not specifically gold coins, but I'm a very skilled and good tipper, meaning putting money in motion, money into the universe. It's called reciprocity. So when you live in lack, scarcity consciousness, when you're worried about money, you're shutting off the flow. When you're worried about the relationships that you haven't had happen, you're shutting off the flow. When you're in the dating world, in the dating pool, and you're telling yourself there's no one out there, all there are these men and these women, and when you communicate like this, you're absolutely correct. You're shutting off your flow. When you say, all I attract are these narcissistic men and women, that's correct. That's how you shut off your flow. Someone asked me just recently in a live I was doing, I live in a small town, you have no idea, there's no leads here, there's nobody here. Well, once again, this is how people speak lack into existence to fulfill the neurochemical craving called the payoff. If I had a whiteboard right now and I wrote the 2 words, the payoff, and you could actually understand what that means, either today, tomorrow, the end of the week, next month, by the end of this year, if you can actually articulate the payoff, if you understand the payoff, if you understand what that means, then you have a higher probability of being able to change an emotion in mid feeling. And that's called fight or flight. There's a 1/10 to 1/100th of a second between being in a reaction or a response. And so when you begin to roll your eyes because your wife says something or because something happens, you go, but you catch yourself like this and you bring yourself back down, or you humbly apologize to the person you rolled your eyes at, then you are changing a behavior. This is so big and so important that you grasp this. When you begin to change the reflex of fight or flight, when you begin to no longer be the mind-body connection to the events that shape them, you're moving into flow because you're not in resistance. You become a lot more flexible in your communication style. You become a lot more flexible in your emotional state. I coached another man recently who was telling me how overweight he is and how he smokes marijuana, and he has I'm going to cut back, and I'm going to do all these things. And I ask him, I go, can you go to bed sober tonight? I asked him this, and he told me another story, and I said, can you go to bed sober tonight? He told me another story. I asked him, can you go to bed sober tonight? He never answered my question because he's in the resistance. So the flow, he's in so much resistance, and he's not a freak. This is a large percent of society. He couldn't possibly see going to bed tonight without smoking marijuana or out a treat or a snack. Those are his drugs of choice, marijuana and a treat or snack. And I was articulating to him that that's the outer world. The inner world are the events that shape your feelings, that keep you in fight or flight, recreating the same situation to fulfill the neurochemical craving, the payoff. Now, if you can listen to this content today and it's beginning to register, congratulations. If you're listening to this content and you're not in this analytical egoic mind that goes, well, this doesn't make sense, you cannot possibly let go, break through, transcend, release, be in the hands-free zone until you are willing to address your own character defects. When you are willing to address your character defects and really take a good look at the movie of your life, of your childhood, and have a better understanding of how you've been traumatized, victimized, and how the brain fog that you live in keeps you recreating the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings, you will not find the flow. The flow is prosperity awareness. When you have the courage to look at the situation, when you look at the people that you continue to attract, your employees, your teammates, your soulmates, the women and men you do and don't date because of your own insecurities, your own lack, your own poverty consciousness, and when you're able to just say, I surrender to this, I have suffered enough, the pleasure isn't worth the pain. There's two men on this call today that I respect a tremendous amount who have well over 20 years of sobriety, and that is Scott Lucas and Matt Smith. So, men, they understand this because they've been through what I've been through, and they understand the term, the pleasure isn't worth the pain. And when you understand that, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. People just don't grasp what it means to have 20 years of sobriety. It doesn't mean you're white-knuckling 20 years. It means for 20 years of your life, you realize that the pleasure isn't worth the pain, and you're not white-knuckling that every day, and you're not in the payoff, and you're beginning to live in more flow. You go from sitting in your car with a handgun next to you, or you're on the bridge thinking how you're going to jump off, or you're romancing second all and alcohol and how you can go out in style. Well, that's a payoff because that occupies a lot of space. People spend a lot of time in their head practicing how they're going to avoid, how they're going to go out, how they're one day mythically, magically, it's all going to change for them. And they live in this romance of unreality rather than being honest and real and having integrity and telling yourself the truth and coming down on the ground and being your best self and looking at it one day at a time and doing the simple discipline, the little situations that lead to the breakthrough factor. These are the situations that most people avoid, and then they never create that flow. Now for me, when I broke through, and financially and emotionally, first emotionally, I reached a place of rock bottom at 114 pounds in a wheelchair in a heroin alcohol clinic in Ceres, California, Ceres, right down the freeway from me, about 40 miles. That was my rock bottom emotionally. And then my rock bottom financially was in an apartment complex right over there, about 5 miles, $100,000 in credit card debt, pennies in my pocket, zero in the bank account, creditors calling, and I had zero of this. I didn't have any gold. I still had some belief left though. I had the belief, and I'd been clean and sober for 10 years, and there still was within me that belief that I knew I could break through. I just didn't know how yet. And so I've had two major surrender moments where I began to really surrender from my emotional state, and I surrendered from the financial state, and this was 10 years apart. And then in another 10 years, I had 20 years of sobriety. And then another 10 years, I had 30 years of sobriety. And there's also the emotional sobriety that comes with this that creates the financial sobriety. And the financial sobriety means you begin to create profit. You begin to live prosperously. You begin to be in the hands-free zone. You begin to attract people to your reality that you can collaborate with. You begin to attract customers, clients who see your business model and they want to join you, purchase from you, be in business with you. And you're not in poverty consciousness and lack and scarcity. You're letting go of the cause that creates the effect. And so right here on step number 4, in the flow, you're beginning to ask, you're receiving, and you're deserving. And you move into this state of higher consciousness where you begin to feel that you deserve it. And then your self-talk changes. You're not critical. You're not negative. You're not complaining all the time. And as you begin to let go of these emotions, the energy changes. So you're virtually transmuting. You're sending a different telepathic message into the universe. And that's what the attraction is a byproduct of this. People begin to feel it. It's your charisma, it's your love, it's your joy, it's exuding from you. People are feeling it. They feel your posture. They want to join you because it's your posture that you're sending that you're successful, you're a mentor, you're a leader grower. People begin to feel this, and you're not in this stuck space of doubt. You're living in higher consciousness called prosperity awareness. And in that awareness, you're transmuting a whole different level of energy. It's called consciousness. And that consciousness is, I understand, I'm aware, I know. And so the words doesn't make sense doesn't come out of your mouth. I coach truthers on this all the time. They look at what's going on in the world and they go, this doesn't make sense. Well, it never, it doesn't snow like this. It doesn't rain like this. We don't have tornadoes in Florida. This doesn't make sense. It does. There's a reason that there's tornadoes in Florida, and that's your responsibility to stop making sense of it, and you understand the truth. And the truth won't set you free. The truth lets you know who your opponent is, who the real opponent is. And when you understand that real opponent is Satan, then you will begin to surrender more to your God. Ooh. A little choked up on that one. And as you begin to understand that your enemy is you a lot of the time, and that you are your own worst enemy because it's you that's sabotaging yourself. It's not your fault that you were traumatized, victimized, abused, but it's your responsibility to understand that you're the one paying the price for it. And you're robbing other people of the opportunity to connect with you, collaborate you, be in your circle of influence, and you're definitely not being your best you. You're definitely not in prosperity when you're in lack, scarcity, when you're complaining, when you're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. You're your worst self. And as you begin to no longer be the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, you're creating that separation. So that's the 1/10 of 1%. It's that 1/10 of a second that you're separating. So you're either reacting to the stimulus or you're responding to it. And as you learn to respond to the stimulus, you're not in your anger. You're not in your violation. You're not telling yourself this doesn't make sense. You're not saying that someone gaslighted you or ghosted you. You don't feel rejected and abandoned. You understand that that's the inner game of business, and you're going to master it on your time, in your terms, and you're going to learn to let go. The separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. And so as you begin to understand the payoff, that is the gold. Because that is the breakthrough factor. As you understand that the payoff is what you'll recreate over and over to fulfill the feelings. And so when you reach this state of, I'm surrendering, I'm letting go, I no longer require this drama, this trauma. I no longer require to be in lack and debt. I'm done with this. And when you step into that, when you realize that you no require sugar and treats and snacks and these beverages and these other situations that you consume. I mean, look at the epidemic with vaping. Oh my God, it's an epidemic. What has been created with vaping and that whole epidemic. You know, like you talk about instant gratification, it's just like this. So when you let go of seeking instant gratification and you focus on peace, you're absolutely moving into prosperity awareness because you are unequivocally letting go because you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Breathe, release, and let go. Be here, be now, be in the moment. And you, at this speed, you're moving to a place, it's step 7 on the syllabus for today. It's called Prosperity on Command. It means where you go places, someone has a ticket for you. There's a parking space up front for you. The booth that you're waiting for opens as you walk in the door. Someone picks up your check in the restaurant. Someone contacts you and buys from you on command. An opportunity is given to you because of what you've done for good deeds. As you begin to live in reciprocity, prosperity, you'll begin to change who and what you attract. It's a very liberating, inspiring experience. You deserve to live it one day at a time, every single day, the rest of your life, because you are willing to pay the price without knowing the cost. My name is Jeffery Combs. I am the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. The content today is gold, and this is a 1927 St. Gaudens Walking Liberty $20 gold piece with 13 stars that represented the original states of the original United States of America before the 1871 contract that with the Bank of England. And you know that are true historians know what that really means. The 1871 contract with the Bank of England. So if you know what that means, you definitely are in prosperity awareness. If you would like to reach me for a free 20-minute coaching call, feel free to send me a Facebook message, or you can go to my website, and right on the top of my website, goldenmastermind.com, it says free 20-minute call. Go ahead and fill out a survey. It'll come directly to me, and I will contact you. Breathe, release, and let go. Good to see Tracy. Good to see you this afternoon. Brian, good to see you. Christy, thank you for joining me this afternoon. If you're brand new to my content, hit the like button. That will put you in my feed, and you will receive all my notifications for content and Facebook Lives. Have a great afternoon, everyone.